This is What a week.
What a week. PoliTricks.
Eta, welcome to another edition of Wow What a Week, hashtag PoliTricks with Fresh and Botsang Modimowame Moiloa. Hopefully you are warm wherever you are, because we are not.
Hey, my brother, good morning. Yeah, even the heater that gets always is not helping.
Nick,
Crazy, yeah.
all this heater is doing is burning me here. But my hands are cold, my toes are cold.
No,
so.
this studio, but guys, no. But anyway, good morning, Tato.
Yes, sir.
Morning to the followers, the viewers. Actually, I thought I should actually make a, special, say hi to a few of our followers abroad. And we have Lerato, who is actually from Sebokeng.
Yes.
She's sitting in Melbourne, in Australia.
Yes, sir.
And she ordered the book and she received it this week. And we have Vuyo, who's in Holland. We have Ntatesito, who's in the US. And I follow all their comments.
Yes, sir.
And one of our greatest friends who's sitting in Barbados. And so I've been engaging quite a few times with the followers, and it's very interesting what people are saying.
And I think our biggest follower sitting in Randfontein.
Oh yes, RAMAPHOSA sitting in Randfontein. He started being a critic, but he helped us to build the program.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. I think, look, it looks like majority of the followers are just this nice criticisms, constructive ones. People are complaining about time and topics.
Yes.
But it's natural. We can't cover everything that happens in a week.
Yes, and the numbers are up. So thank you guys for tuning in, for streaming, for watching, and for sharing all the links.
And before people complain, that maybe we should also congratulate Kgothatso Montjane,
yes,
for the French Open, winning. We must congratulate the comrade marathon runners. Thumbs up to them. Motswana wa gaetsho Ntate Tete Dijana did very well. Coco Gauff in tennis runners did very well. And it has been a very, very interesting sporting week, that we just completed. And South Africa has been very well on the map. We've done very well as a country. But people who run comrades, I know, I salute those people. That's one thing. Running comrades marathon and climbing Kilimanjaro. I love when other people do it. I will not even attempt.
I'm happy for you, and I'll let you do it. I'll wait for you at the bottom.
I'll get my cooler box and wait for you. Not me.
Now, last year, there were quite a few foundations, including the Mbeki Foundation, I think, talking about how the country needs a dialogue.
Yes.
To re-look at this freedom, what it looks like, the inequality, and a whole lot of other issues that we're dealing with or maybe not dealing with. And President Ramaphosa recently named 31 eminent people,
yes,
who are meant to champion this dialogue. And I remember at the time we were asking the question, what the weird thing is though? I don't see names from any of the foundations that started this conversation about needing a dialogue in this list.
Actually, the three foundations, and local and domestic foundations, the Ahmed Kathrada, Thabo Mbeki, and Nelson Mandela foundations, including Jacob Zuma Foundation, which Jacob Zuma Foundation never spoke about the dialogue.
Yes.
It spoke about alternative projects. But these three that I've mentioned, none of them are mentioned in the president's speech, and none of their members or products are part of the 31 people.
Yeah, but I mean, you the names like Dr. Brigalia Bam, Sia Kolisi, Mia Leroux, she's Miss South Africa 2024, Professor Tinyiko Maluleke, Dr. Gloria Serobe, she's a business leader, Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman of the Gift of the Givers. I think our Grand Slam tennis champion, Kgothatso Montjane, is also there.
Yes.
There looks different people from different walks of life. Rolf Meyer, former minister and constitutional negotiator.
His name there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Manne Dipicho from Northern Cape is also there. It's like I said, it's a wide array of people. Do you feel these people broadly represent the thoughts, dreams, opinions, and aspirations of the country?
Tato, I'm one of the people who said we cannot use the same people who created the problem to be opinionators or the solution to the problem they created. Some of the people in the like money the picture, politicians, I know what President Ramaphosa has tried to do. He had tried to balance this thing to be all inclusive from all sectors, sports, arts, politics. I think there's a former retired justice there and so forth. But if you look at some of the names, yes, there are prominent people in the society.
I was going to say, this looks like a list more of influencers,
Yes,
than necessarily people representing a constitution somewhere.
or the society.
Sorry, a constituency somewhere.
Yes. So, and for me, that's where my problem is. I do not have anything or something against those people
Yes.
because of who they are in the society.
Yes.
But we cannot do a political change dialogue of the country, and it is political, whether people like it or not. Once you start talking about unemployment, security, and those things, how on earth will a person like Kotatso Monchan, that I've been following, since I've had a story on SABC years back, she's still struggling to make ends meet to play a sport to arrive where she is at sport.
Kotato has literally been carrying herself on her wheelchair
And begging.
her entire career.
Yes.
But all of a sudden, no, come to the dialogue.
Yeah. And when she was knocking at, which she was not even supposed to knock, we as the government and the people who were supposed to have realized her talent and her needs
Sure.
and act. Now we want to be proactive because she's in the limelight of the world and say she can come and be part of those who tell a better story on how the government was supposed to, or the country was supposed to handle this whole thing. The difficulty with this, pardon me, if I may just elaborate further. This call for national dialogue, it's enshrined in the Constitution. It's not just a call that came out of the foundations. These foundations, I have a problem with them as well because they tend to happen to be tools of the imperialists using the foundations in the country.
Sure.
But there is, I think, if it's not chapter 83 and 84 of the Constitution, it gives the president powers to, especially under the freedom of speech, it gives the president powers to can say if there are challenges in the country, he may call for a national dialogue, not as the head of government. And this is where the politics and government administration becomes important.
Yes.
Our Constitution differentiates between the head of government and the head of state. And I said it differentiates between the two. So the Constitution says that the head of state, the number one citizen of the country, which it can happen that the head of state, unfortunately we've never had that situation, is not the head of government. Because government is the president and the executive authority.
Yes.
But imagine if we had a situation whereby the ruling party could have had, and I think we had it, but unofficially under President Mandela. When President Mandela was the state president towards the end of, after adopting the Constitution in 1996,
Yes.
from 1996 to 1999, unofficially so, President Mandela was head of state, while President Thabo Mbeki was head of government. So and you will recall also at that time that the former second deputy president, de Klerk, resigned as well, and that's when they dissolved the National Party to form the new National Party, and he left government.
Yes, sir.
So our Constitution does make provision for that, and that's why it's President Ramaphosa, because people were asking, why should it be a politician who's calling for this national dialogue? He's using his constitutional provisions.
So the national dialogue is supposed to happen in August, I think on the 15th.
Yes.
And it's going to be like a convention.
Yeah.
Where everyone is going to come together. Can I tell you what I suggest? And I saw something similar with Test the Nation on SABC.
Okay.
Where it was a dialogue on TV, but viewers were allowed to participate by way of polls and voting and giving their opinions on situations. My suggestion, with the many clever minds that we have in this country, my suggestion is create a national dialogue app for smartphones that would allow for every citizen with a smartphone to participate in this dialogue, because AI can then tabulate every comment and say this is the temperature of the country based on what every citizen that participated had to say. And you can even say to the cell phone companies, please zero rate this app so that people can participate without having to spend that data. Because obviously you don't want barriers to entry. You can even incentivize people and say, download the National Dialogue app. And if you do that, you'll get
2 or 3 gig free.
You get 1 gig free.
Yeah.
So that when the dialogue happens on the 15th of August, you have as many citizens as possible saying, this is my view on this issue. By the end of the day, AI will tell you exactly what people are thinking and feeling.
And Tato, you are right.
And you're welcome.
I just hope the Tato Jr. will make a clip of what we have just said.
Yeah.
Share it and let us get it to this committee, because there's going to be an administrative committee that is going to be formed to run the logistics. It's a whole lot of process. These are the panelists that are elected, the 31 people. But there's going to be the administrative people. And they need to hear such suggestions, because you cannot go and make a decision or opinion and talk about the people while those people are not there.
While they're not participants.
Yes. And we know that having a dialogue that's going to be probably in Cape Town or Sandton Convention Center is not going to be in Alexander or in Beckersdale. Then the ordinary people will not fill up that whole thing.
Absolutely.
And our society is so broken that civil society organization movements in townships, rural areas, or in communities have dislocated. You know, in the past, you had civil society organizations. You had that in municipalities or activists. You have churches. You had all those things. Because I've seen they've tried to include the 2 bishops of the 2 ZCC churches, the Star one and the both are included. They've even mentioned that they've invited the leader of the Shembe Church, but he has not yet accepted because his travel is out of the country. They've tried to be all-inclusive. However, I'm still saying this thing of people sitting and talking about people's well-beings, while the people are not there, or are not opinionated, and you have just come with a brilliant suggestion.
Because
use an app, it's time of AI, it's time of technology. The president had in one of his commission, the YEX, trying to create people that they must run with advancement of technology. And it's an opportunity for them to do that.
Because unfortunately, none of the people on this list can say to you, they understand the lived experience of your average South African right now.
Yes.
And what they're dealing with.
Yes.
In fact, many would say this is a panel of privilege that is going to discuss poor people without poor people.
And when I looked at that, well, on the 31 people, I can mention a handful, about 5 that I'm saying they're not privileged. I wouldn't say, for example, Kotatso Monchan is privileged because of what she has gone through.
Sure.
I think she is actually better positioned than many there.
Yes.
To tell about
her challenges.
Yes. Some of us who know Dr. Kani from childhood, we know that for her to arrive at an arena or the stage where he is at the moment, he started under difficult circumstances.
Sure.
It's some of the... But if you look at people like Rolf Meyer, Sia Kolisi, Maya, maybe because of the disability, the former Miss South Africa 2024, Miss South Africa 2024, and many others, I mean, the Meg Gloria Roberts and all that. She may be a prominent business person. Yes, and we have no doubt about that. She's one of the leading prominent black businesswomen. Manedi Picho is the former premier of the Northern Cape. He actually left that province in tatters. Why do we still think those people can be the voice of the voiceless? Create an app or have community-based leaders.
Sure.
Community-based leaders. There are people who participated in elections, and some are going to participate in the local government elections next year as independent candidates. People who are in touch with reality.
Sure.
And as I look at the foundations that has been formed by this lady that was murdered by the boyfriend, look at the people who have been victims of rape, the people who represent them, look at this guy who was arrested for confronting drug dealers. He just got released a few weeks back.
Sure.
Those are people who are in touch with reality. You understand? We should look at areas or in townships or local areas where they've got drug rehabilitation centers. People who are leading those rehab centers.
Sure.
They know better than me and you. You know, we call people nyaupe, addicts and what, but there are people who have worked with these people. You know, I know quite a number of people. The fees must fall. What disappoints me with that, I don't see youth or student activists on that list.
Nothing.
Not even one.
So who's representing them?
Who's representing the youth and the unemployed? Understand? Not even one. I didn't even want to think political parties or whether they belong to PASMA or Azaiko or SAISCO or what. I was looking for a student activist. And we had the Roads Must Fall gang, we had the Fees Must Fall gang, and we know what those students did for this country. Peaceful protests, but they brought the plight of our students into the faces of us parents who were not aware what our kids are going through. You know, some of us, if you had money, I never cared because I had money.
Yeah. Isn't there a youth parliament?
Yeah, we spoke about the youth parliament
There's a
last
youth
week.
parliament, right?
And there was
Why don't you have one or two people from the youth parliament?
Exactly. That's what I would have expected the president to do. Take some people from the youth parliament. That last week I said, we don't know what they're doing. We don't know what their programs. And these are some of the challenges. But I've already seen in less than 24 hours of the president mentioning that list, there's already negative vibes in the what you call it, social media.
Sure.
People are saying, no, don't bring us these privileged people who have not been what we have been through. People are saying you even include politicians from the ANC there. For me, I have a problem that the ANC was the ruling party for 30 years in this country that led or misled this country to be wherever it is. Either way you look at it, you cannot have the same people and then to come and relook at their wrongs and say, how can we fix this? Get the people who have suffered through this
Sure.
to look at what are the challenges. And this is the time whereby the government should be encouraging people to want to strengthen the local government, because that's where our problem is, local government. And secondly, to revive the civil society movement.
Sure.
The guy from Gift of the Givers, look, they are very well known internationally. They've got resources, whether they look for these resources, they hustle for them, but they have the resources. There are many organizations, and I've seen them this past week, Tato, in the Eastern Cape and KZN, with the cold front and other things. And they've done very well because this has been bad. Although there's casualties, there's fatalities. I mean, for example, I was thinking, the weather service warned us prior. Now you have a 22-seater bus in the Eastern Cape that went into a river with kids, and if the bus was found empty, we don't know how many kids were in there. Wouldn't it have been wise for the state to issue orders that for the days where we are warned those kids must not go to school? Why did we risk as a nation? Why did we allow people to still travel when there was level 4 prior warning of the storm and a natural disaster in the Eastern Cape and KZN?
And also generally, well-engineered bridges will withstand such weather.
Yeah, but that's a topic for another day. That bridge in the Eastern Cape, it was immersed under the water. It's supposed to be the bridge where the river goes underneath the bridge. The bridge was immersed under the water. Again, it's problems of engineering, bad work. And somebody may say, yeah, but you can't blame when natural disasters happen. All I'm saying is we were warned the week before. We knew. If I was the provincial head of Eastern Cape and KZN, I would have taken a decision to instruct the MECs in the province.
Zero movement.
To save lives.
Because torrential rains are coming.
Yes.
Snow is coming.
Exactly.
None of those elements kids should be forced to have to go to school.
They normally go under difficult circumstances to go to school. Under normal rainy days, the children of KZN and Eastern Cape, and I don't want to limit myself to that because these things happen in Mpumalanga and the Free State as well.
You know, the sad thing is a lot of these kids only get a meal when they're at school. So sometimes it's actually even a survival thing. It's not even that I love school, but I need food.
Yeah, because of the school nutrition program.
Exactly.
But Tato, as a public administrator, you plan. You have info from South African Weather Service.
The data is there, yeah.
You plan. You do the logistics to deliver food into those kids' homes prior. You understand? You can't tell me that you risk the life of a child. Even us as parents, I don't want to blame government.
Yeah.
When I've got such a warning and I know the circumstances in my area, I would rise as a parent and say to my child, you will stay home today.
You know, we've had this discussion before about warnings. Because one, where do the warnings go?
Oh, yes.
And do people get these warnings? Do people understand what a red warning or a level 4 warning is in the first place? And again, what stops cell phone companies from being compelled to push notifications via SMS to people to say, if you're in the Eastern Cape, don't go to this area.
Yes.
Talk to people in languages that they speak, understand, and force notifications on their phone. I've got a friend who lives in Hawaii. They get push notifications for anything. If there's a tidal wave expected, torrential rain, there's a volcano that's just rumbling, they'll get a push notification on the phone that says, don't go to this area because
And Tato, I didn't even know they're called push notification. I call them irritating pop-up messages. These telephone companies have them. You wake up 7 a.m. every day. Every day at 7 a.m., there's this 001 what number that's calling me for insurance. I block it, they keep on calling. Or you charge your phone, there's messages popping up. You understand? And it's very easy. The Minister of Communication or the GCIS should have approached these telephone companies that are milking money out of government and say, we're expecting crisis in these areas or provinces. Can you aid us? Because at least no matter how poor families are, most of even poor families, they've got at least one cell phone in their house. But again, it is community leaders. It takes the mayors, the councillors, the provincial leaders to stand up. School principals must be told in advance to say, we're expecting this, issue a note as a school principal to say, let the kids not come to school. Why when there's monate in Polai in this country, rugby matches, Bafana this festival or what, kids are told Maboko are coming back into Soweto to go march the street of Soweto. Let's make a way, go and wave flags. Those communications, they go through. But when it's disasters that are life-threatening, we are not using those opportunities. And you have mentioned easy examples. I'm saying political office bearers from local government must rise with community leaders like school principal, church leaders. Imagine if the people, black people love a church. No matter how cold it is or how bold they are, they'll still go to church. Imagine if the pastor in that area in Mthatha, in the Eastern Cape, all the pastors would have been told, tell your congregations they must not be on the streets from Tuesday until next week Sunday when we are prepared to come to church. Imagine how much would have filtered into the people. But we are failing to take advantage of those, left community opportunities we have. And you are mentioning technology. I'm mentioning practical ones. People will say, yeah, but people don't have smartphones. Okay, but they go to church.
Hence it's a push SMS. Because everyone has a SMS-enabled phone.
Exactly.
If not everyone, majority of people.
And a community, if you have lived in rural areas, the word spread very fast.
Absolutely.
Understand? And we failed to do that as a nation. Now we are dealing with, almost now 7-8 fatalities in the Mthatha area of kids that are being, and young kids, primary school kids, not even teenagers, that are being pulled out of rivers and all that, while we knew. And for me, these national dialogues that the president has called for, look, I don't want to be negative. I think this country needs a change. We need to revisit the 1994 thing. We need it. With the national dialogue, probably somebody will say, what other options are there? But this kind of format of national dialogue that is being informed by the same constitution that we are questioning. We are questioning President Ramaphosa with all these commissions. I was counting, the EFF issued a statement. President Ramaphosa, since he came into power, first term to now, he has created at least 22 commissions, 22 of various sectors. And everybody is quiet about what have they achieved.
Yes.
You understand? The only way we can say he failed or he succeeded is to check what was the intention, what was done, what has been achieved.
And what percentage of the recommendations were implemented.
Yep.
Because otherwise, then why are we meeting?
And then we are going to sit when in the Women's Month in October. Remember this thing of the dialogue was supposed to happen to coincide with Reconciliation Day. It was supposed to have been on the 16th of December. It's called Reconciliation. 16th of December. Last year. Then it was postponed. Now he's doing it on this in Women's Month Day and all those things. So I think towards a build up to that.
Sure.
If they have an ear to listen, they must listen to what the people want. If they don't, it will be a fruitless exercise.
Yeah, it'll be another.
Go there, have nice drinks after, have a nice talk, we'll appear on TVs and all that. There'll be a nice report that comes after that, like the Zondo Commission report and all other commission reports, and it will sit there piling up dust because you know what is going to overshadow that? Immediately after that, we'll be going to festive.
Sure.
And then after that, people will be working towards local government elections.
You know what would be dope? I think what would be dope is, even if it happens once a year, to have a dialogue day where, like I said, where if there's an app where other people can actually get involved, you get your panelists, you put it on a stage, and you get every single network to broadcast it, every single radio station to broadcast it, so that it doesn't matter where you are, you can't miss it or escape it. Because then at least once a year, you know precisely the temperature of the country.
Of the country, yes.
And where people are, what people are thinking, and what pisses them off. Because often we pay attention to a lot of things, but not to what pisses people off. And the last thing you want is a pissed off electorate.
Look, I've learned this week that we are one of the leading countries with protests in the world. South Africans are pissed off. We are a ticking time bomb. And I've been saying it for years.
In fact, the travel advisory from America about SA says there's sporadic protests today, so watch out.
I was surprised that there's so many protests in the country. I was not even aware.
There's at least one a day every single day.
That's too much. And that shows that our people or South Africans are getting hurtful with the system. And it's not only about the government, it's about social ills. For me, my biggest security in South Africa, my biggest concern is that as a person, it's security than anything else. It's not unemployment, because I'm anti-employment. Because I'm saying let the people own their resources and feed themselves.
Sure.
But my biggest concern as an individual in South Africa, it's security. I'm very paranoid about my security in this country as a person, the security of my children and all that. And you know, that in conclusion of this, my only problem with these dialogues and the suggestions you have made and the things that we have resources in our hands as a country and technologies on our side. It's do the end users understand, listen, and try and use that information for the benefit of the people. I think that's where the problem. I don't think South Africans don't communicate.
So you're worried about another talk shop?
And it's another talk shop. What happens after? And that's why I'm saying people who studied project management will tell you, have maximum 5 programs. 3 must be key.
Sure.
Understand? Out of 5. And say, these 3 are key and critical. Focus on them, put your energies on them, and then go and evaluate after to check what have you achieved.
Sure.
And we lack that. You understand? We lack, that's what we lack as a country. We've got brilliant ideas.
Feedback mechanisms.
What have we achieved? Where have we failed? Why have we failed? And what mitigating factors or measures are we putting into place? And that's what we lack as a nation. Talking and preparing and having seminars and conferences and successful events. We have hosted some of the world biggest events in this country.
Sure.
Understand? And we have the ability to do it. And I'm not talking the sports event. Many.
Yeah.
In the last 3 weeks, I think we had the tourism in Durban, the African tourism in Durban. It's one of the biggest and most successful Indabas in the whole world.
Yeah.
And it's an annual thing. This year they extended it to Africa. But how many of our people who are supposed to be direct benefactors of that tourism in Durban? People went to Durban, it was nice. They ate well, they lived well, they learned well, some got opportunities, and then what? We'll wait for next year again.
Sure.
And for me, that's the challenge.
Follow through.
Follow through, and we don't have to succeed in everything that we do. We all have failures in life.
Sure.
But if you do not go and check why did you fail, why did it happen, then you are doomed.
You spoke earlier on of talk shops. And President Ramaphosa has been invited to Canada for the G7.
Oh, yeah.
Where they'll be looking at, amongst other things, our energy crisis on the planet. Do you think President Ramaphosa was invited to Canada almost as a Trump might have grilled you but were on your side.
I
Almost to reassure President Ramaphosa that madman Hitler wannabe might be carrying on the way he is, and I think they want to meet again with Trump in Canada.
Yeah.
At the G7. But do you think this is almost like a co-sign or endorsement from the other G7, 8 members, just to say to President Ramaphosa, don't stress, we got this?
Look, Tato, I still think President Trump did not grill President Ramaphosa. I still think he was softened by the presence of the golfers,
the other whites in
the room, and President Ramaphosa for not responding, reacting. I think that Trump got away with it
because Trump wanted a fight, but President Ramaphosa,
but he didn't get it.
I'm not here to fight you.
Yeah. Now, remember, immediately after that meeting, that particular week, President Trump hinted that he may be coming to South Africa for the G20. And I've always said America is not going to miss that. They were bluffing. You cannot attend a function where the baton is handed over to you in a group that you are a founding member. You understand? It was going to be very dangerous for the Americans. But this G7 thing, and especially what they're going to focus on, that's what makes me uncomfortable. The energy crisis. And they want to say, we want to help you, we recognize you. Their energy crisis is or challenges, because we have the crisis, they've got challenges. And why they don't have crisis, they've got challenges, is because of our coal. That's one element. Our coal is keeping countries like Germany afloat. You understand? And many other countries, because of our coal, that the same countries, very same members of the G7 are telling us that coal is very bad for the environment. We have one of the biggest suppliers of coal in the world, and they are telling us it's bad for the environment, and they are taking that coal to can put energy in their countries.
And when they were burning this coal relentlessly
for the last 100 years,
rapidly industrializing, it was fine.
Yes.
Now that we are trying to catch up, it's like, no, guys, do it our way,
yes,
on our terms. We'll throw a couple of bucks at you.
Yeah, like they've just borrowed us 27 billion now. But I think President Ramaphosa must not fall into the trap of being used by the G7. Well, you see, imperialists, they're like colonialists. Remember, imperialists are the new colonialists.
Sure.
That's why they are called neo-colonialists. They look for their blue-eyed boy every time in every region of the world. And they will start saying, we can be G8 for you to be here, or G9 for you to be here for this particular purpose. Why are they focused and concerned about the South African energy crisis while the Nigerian energy crisis are worse than that of South Africa? Nigeria is in a worse state than us with energy crisis. Why are they concerned about us? I can tell you it is because they are looking at a softer spot. Nigeria is a federal state. They are looking at a softer spot. They are looking at our coal, and they are looking at South Africa. Don't go and use too much of your coal. We need it. Don't go and boost your ESCOM too much of your coal, because it will then strain us. Even if it's not them directly, it's countries that are reliant on our coal, but they benefit industrially, the imperialist countries. For example, you find a country like the USA has plants, like they have the Ford plant in South Africa, they've got the G plant in Spain, and they need South African coal in those countries to can manufacture, not in the US specifically.
Sure.
So they have a bigger interest into this, but one of the biggest problems I've heard from one of the ministers recently was that South Africa was quick to rush in the early 90s to sign quite a number of membership of various international organizations, number of treaties, and we were quick to put our signatures there. Actually, she said to me, yeah, Botsang, it was you, the ASTA diplomats, who negotiated these deals, and today you are criticizing them. There's just too many treaties and deals and MOUs that we have signed internationally, and they're catching up with us.
Sure.
I mean, people were clapping hands this past week, Tato, that the World Bank or the IMF, one of the two, has now borrowed South Africa 26 billion. And now, I was surprised. What do we want this money for? Where is white capital? Where is the golfers who are rich? Why do we have to go to the World Bank to borrow money? What do we want it for? We still haven't accounted for the billions we borrowed for COVID. We haven't. We are again going there to borrow And when we stand up and say the Ramaphosa administration, and when we say administration, I don't want to talk about President Ramaphosa. It is actually the worst administration that this country has ever had on record. It's not me saying that, it's the records of this country on everything. There is not one thing that the Ramaphosa administration has done better than Mandela, Zuma, Mbeki, and Motlanthe administration. None, not even one thing. Everything is bad. Security, health, education, money, employment, everything.
But is it because of his administration, or is it because of long-term non-maintenance of a lot of those sectors?
It could be.
Because if you sell me a car that hasn't been serviced, it will break while I'm driving it. But does this mean I broke it?
No, you are right. It could be because of lack of maintenance. But you should have known, since you have been part of the system, and your plans and your energies should have been directed in saying, I've bought a broken car or a car that has not been serviced well. When you buy a used or second-hand vehicle, you know that it's not a brand new vehicle. If it breaks down, you can't take it back to the dealer.
Sure.
So you prepare, you plan to say, the engine or the gearbox may seize. What do I do? That's why people take things like warranty insurance. However, luckily President Ramaphosa is on his second term as the head of state, and the cabinet and parliament hasn't changed much. It is the same people who were there, whether they were part of the breaking or the fixing. All I'm saying is they did not come with a plan of saying, what are we inheriting and how are we going to fix what we've inherited. They didn't do what, like the dipstick approach to check what's wrong with this vehicle, what's wrong with this vehicle called South Africa that we're inheriting. And we can't fail on everything. One or two things, people may say I'm exaggerating. I've been questioning people. Bring me one thing that they've done successful. One, in the basic things that we need as a country. One, just one. And it's not me, the Auditor General is saying that. SCOPA is saying that. The public is saying that. The police reports are saying that. The public protector is saying that. It is not me. The Auditor General of South Africa have said there's never been such a rampant form of looting, maladministration, and ill discipline in the financial transactions of the country ever than this.
I was shocked finding out the other day, for instance, that a lot of departments are still dealing with phantom or ghost workers.
Yeah.
How so far in the game do you still not have a system that can weed out
Ghost workers
and people that don't exist? I'll give you an example. If you don't RICA your SIM card, it's shut down.
Yes.
If you don't FICA your bank account, it's locked.
Yeah.
How is it that you don't have a system that can, what's the word I'm looking for? That can validate that, okay, our payroll says Botsang Moiloa. Here is Botsang Moiloa.
He comes to work, you can see.
But that's what I'm saying, that it doesn't make sense that unless every single person along the value chain is colluding, from HR to the financial director unless every single person along that...
Fresh, it's corruption. You are using the word colluding. It is colluding. It's corruption to...
But how do you not have a system that can just verify it?
Look, I think the systems are there. But
that worker one
corrupted,
exists, we'll pay worker one.
Yeah.
If worker 5 cannot prove
that is existing.
Flip, even just the website says, can you prove that you're not a robot? Click here.
Anyway, the government embarked on that process.
Yeah.
First with qualifications in 2016, but also recent years. I can't remember the year. They embarked on that process to say, prove that you are existing.
Yes.
Go to your HR, resubmit your ID to prove that you exist. They embarked on that, but because the system has, and South African public service, and I'll use the public service as an example. What do they call it? The GEPF plus the what do they call the public service system? The PERSAL.
Yes.
Understand? That is run by CETA, but it's owned by a Department of Public Service and Administration. They have that. But if you've got people from the operator of the system, a junior clerk, to the chief director of the organization are corrupt. In every level, there's one corrupt person to can make sure that this system is not delivered the intended. What can you do? You know, and those are some of the challenges we are sitting with. But again, you know what people were saying? It is because we don't have repercussions. It is because we haven't seen a former chief director or a DDG in government who have been actively implicated or involved in acts of corruption wearing orange overalls. They just change jobs and go somewhere. There's no repercussions, and that's where the challenge is. So to be part of a corrupt value chain, it's not punishable by being jailed in this country. You will just be fired from work and then...
Or you can resign before.
Or you can resign before. The majority of them...
walk off with the benefits.
And then you walk off and you start another project somewhere. We have seen it over and over in the system. The problem is an organized crime in South Africa. And one of the things that makes this country very poor and to lack resources, and we saw it during the COVID funding, it is organized crime in the purse of the government. And that's one of the challenges.
Sure. Speaking of crime, let's go to the courts.
Yes.
Justice MOKGOATLHENG last week upset quite a lot of people when Advocate Nisi sent a letter to the court to say that, listen, I won't be able to come in on Monday because I'm running the comrades on Sunday. So I'll be driving back from Durban on Monday. And Justice MOKGOATLHENG lost it. And he said that, you know, I don't get how you guys feel like you can just do as you please. White advocates would never send me a letter like this. They show up when they need to show up. And a lot of people understand his frustration, especially because this has been going.
Yeah.
There's still zero justice.
10 years.
There's still zero justice for Senzo Meyiwa. But people are saying, but why did you have to drag race into the issue? And then he apologized. But his apology was almost a, okay, so Riche.
Yeah, sorry.
If you guys feel like I'm a paluka or I'm incompetent and you feel like I will not serve justice, you can complain and I'll recuse myself.
Look, I must say on record, it is the second time in 11 months that Justice MOKGOATLHENG, retired justice, and remember he's retired, he has just been called in to attend to this matter. And some of us were very happy when he was called in, being a seasoned justice. But I always say, when you are in a public office, at least that's some of the training I received when I joined government at a very young age. You must never, ever be under public pressure in executing your duties.
Sure.
If you know the rules, you know the regulations, be careful of falling into a victim of being under public pressure. It is a fact that Justice MOKGOATLHENG is under tremendous pressure to can complete this case. But it does not mean that he has to lose it like he has lost it in my words. Let me tell you I had two problems with that. Number one, it looks like the Justice MOKGOATLHENG undermined. He took Comrades Marathon as a jolly things, like going to a party. There's a lot of work there. People prepare for years and all that, okay? That's number one. Let's leave that. The important part is, and he has to accept, either he did not know or he undermined the processes within the justice system, the administrative processes. What Advocate Missy did is the right thing. And when I saw that, I was taken aback until Advocate Mpofu, representing some Abasa Lawyers Association, cleared it. What you don't communicate as an advocate or a lawyer with the judge in that instance. He did the right thing. You write to the registrar of the court.
Yes.
Understand, to request leave of absence or to give notice. But he also went a further step. He didn't just write that WhatsApp or SMS to the registrar of the court. He copied or CC'd the judge assistant. That's the right thing to do. He did the right thing.
But is missing court because you're going to run a race a right thing to do?
Like I said, if you apply for leave of absence and you give time years notice and all that, not to say I'll be missing it. If you listen to what Judge Rata read, and he read it for us in public.
Okay, let me ask you this. should it be any of our business why you can't show up on Monday? If ukupile or Monday I can't come in.
If ukupi, if you have asked for and it was approved or it was allowed.
But what I'm saying is do you have does any justice have a place to say, why can't you come in on Monday?
Well, he's got that, but what you could have done, he does. The answer is yes, he has. Why can't you come? Is that can't you? You look at the factors at hand. What damage will it come? You understand? But the problem is the platform where Justice RAMAPHOSA, I haven't come to the race issue. The platform, he did not have to say that in front of cameras and in court, inside the court. What he should have done, and this is my view, he could have called those, because you can't call him alone. He could have called all the other representatives of the alleged or the accused into the chambers and talk to them to say, guys, I've got this predicament, I've got this challenge, I have these delays and pressures. Can we engage as colleagues, the 4 or the 5 lawyers, and himself and the rest of the court in the chambers, not in front of the camera? That's what I think he should have done. But going to your question of race, no, Tato, this country has suffered a lot, especially black people. And I'll talk about black people. I'm not going to talk about the 49 plus who went to America. We have suffered a lot by being called names. What we call discrimination is not only pigmentation and racial. Some of us at school were called Bomazinho, Matlazana, Hey Shoti, Hey Feti Boom Boom. All those kind of skinny watwate. Understand? And people don't realize the damage that causes in people's minds. Imagine if you are an aspiring lawyer, you are in that court on that day. You are a 27-year-old, legal candidate. You are in court and you hear a retired, highly decorated judge saying, that's the kind of behavior that black lawyers do. And you are 25 years old. Imagine what it does to this, and it comes from a black lawyer or a black judge, what it does to this aspiring advocate. And I think the comments were uncalled for, they were unnecessary, and it was the second time he's doing it. Yes, there's a lack of service delivery in the public service. People will tell you that. But don't put race in.
Don't racialize it.
Don't racialize it. And for me, I have a problem in racializing things. If they do good, do you stand up and say, black lawyers under difficult circumstances, have they done well? Do you do that? No, we don't. We keep quiet.
It's always curious is how whenever there's issues like this, there will always be people who agree with the justice. What do you say to those people?
I agree with what, well, I've got quite a few people. My sister, Papa No Pasha, was one of them who said, yeah, it's true. Go to any public service office like Home Affairs and see how black people treat people or guests or clients. You understand? Traffic department, go to the police station. It is common cause in South Africa that the public service will be dominated by African people. It's common cause because we are in majority. It is common cause that people have written off the government. People are basically in South Africa saying the public service is useless, it's not rendering a service. Understand? I'm saying people can complain based on their experience, on their personal experiences. But once you generalize it and say black people are useless, I have a problem.
That's the problem, yeah.
When people complain about, I complain about the service. Let me tell you that my situation with Tshwane municipality, I tried everybody. As a matter of fact, it is a white woman from Action SA. Her intervention helped me. Understand? I didn't go and say black people that I spoke to before, they are useless. I don't know the reasons why they couldn't help me like she did, but it took a black mayor, again from Action SA, to intervene and to guide me of what to do. It took a black social worker, independent public servant, who's a social worker of the city of Tshwane, to intervene. So I don't put race into that. I'm simply saying services may be bad in the public service because of individual misconduct or behavior.
Sure.
But we should never put race. We should fight racism with all we have as a nation. And we as African people or black people, anything that attacks us, we should actually rise fearlessly to defend ourselves because of our historical background. I will not tolerate or take anything under the sun where a person, and I'm not saying a white person, a person insults me or talk to me with a tone of black people are incompetent or useless. So we should not even allow that conversation to happen.
In fact, conversation should always be about the person I encountered did this
Exactly.
for that reason.
For that reason, yes.
Because sometimes the person you're dealing with is not racist. Maybe they're just rude.
Maybe they were rude.
But because of different, differing skin colors,
Yes.
you're going to immediately make it a race thing. Versus maybe they're just a rude, horrible, shitty person.
I've heard people saying, but did you see how Advocate Mnisi has been behaving in court? I'm not watching that trial. I stopped watching it long ago because it was tiring. And I said, no, I don't. I haven't seen that, but I haven't heard complaints about his behavior. Understand? I haven't heard complaints. Those who are watching, they may think he's rude. Look, in court, it's a battlefield with rules and regulations. When you are in a battlefield, Tato, I always tell people, you use any weapon you lay your arms on, if you think it will work for you, without not disrespecting other people. But I think, look, the Justice MOKGOATLHENG has apologized, and there are people who are already calling to say the apology is not enough. He himself has actually even said, if you are not happy with me, you can ask me to be excused from this, I will leave.
I haven't heard a black person use the name Paluka before. So it's like, if you think I'm a Paluka or I'm incompetent.
I think he's tired. I think but this case is draining as well.
Yeah.
This case of the late Senzo Mewa is draining.
Do you accept his apology?
Me, look, who am I to do that? No, I'm not. He was not supposed to do that. Look, he was not. And a person at his caliber, at his level, with his experience, and I also think it has an element of mental colonialism.
No, but he said, you guys are probably going to call me an Uncle Tom.
Yeah, understand? He should have known, Tato. He should have known what black lawyers have gone through. That people are delaying and they are showing disrespect. And where did I see that? Oh, I saw an interview of Advocate Sikakane after, explaining it very nicely, to say, when people talk of decorum and behavior and conduct in court, who defined and designed that decorum? We adopted colonial rules. Some countries like Kenya, people still wear that white wig. Again, on the rules of this country, is the rules, is the law, and you know me and the rules. Are saying lawyers must wear black and white or white and black, whatever, black and white actually, because it's dominantly black. And the robes or the gown, whatever you call it. Who said they should wear that? Why? Why? Why did we adopt that? And none of these lawyers are questioning that. They just follow the rule. They just follow the rule. You know, I have a problem in calling judges my lord. I have a very serious problem with that. I actually like it, like in my judgment, my case, if as a lady. So when it's a lady, you say my lady.
My lady.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that. It's a lady. You understand? But that's my lord thing. I have a problem. I'm not a lawyer. As an individual.
Yeah, also Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. So why were not you my Lord?
Yeah. I'm a Buddhist. The Buddha is my Lord. When I'm happy as a judge, why should I call you my Lord? I have a problem with calling judges my Lord. Your worship with magistrate. Why we adopted these things that were used by the colonialists to indoctrinate us?
Are you saying we should be evolving some of these things? And not just hide behind that's the way it is or that's the way it works?
Yes. Especially lawyers are supposed to be questioned. Why should I be forced to wear black and white? What if I prefer bright and Ndebele colors? What do they have to do with decorum? Who said bright colors don't have decorum or they are not nice? Why should I? Yes, my lord. You must see them bowing in court. Yes, my lord. You go out, we arrive at the door as the court pleases. You know, it irks me. It irks me. It's part of indoctrination that is not working for us.
Sure.
And they say it's the profession. If that's what profession do, then I don't want any profession that is going to make me live and or conduct my life in a manner that is being defined in some book by a former colonizer. I have a problem. We are not fighting colonization of the African mind. We are not clearing this whole show. And I have a challenge with that.
Let's move on. We are running out of time. A bunch of oldies seem to be returning to politics.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
What is there to talk about? You know, when you look at that, I think it started by Gogo Helen Zille. By the way, apparently she prefers to be called Gogo. Helen Zille saying she can be a good mayor of Joburg. What does it say to the councillors in the city of Johannesburg? What does it say to the Democratic Alliance members and leaders in Gauteng and in the city of Joburg?
Yeah, but the DA always say everyone is allowed to apply, so why can't she apply? I mean,
No.
if she's elected, then she must do the thing.
Yes.
And if she's more seasoned and has better experience than other DA members,
Yes.
why can't she stand up and say, listen, I was born in Hillbrow, I'm actually a Johannesburg girl, I might be living in Cape Town with my family right now, but Kicheria Josie. So why can't I come back and put my hand up and say, I can be mayor, I can try and fix what is broken, because a lot is broken.
So Helen Zille and all these individuals who are coming to politics, they personalize politics. I.
But isn't that what politics? But isn't that what politics is? In the bigger scheme of things, politics is that me and my ego are gonna fix this. Me and my ego are gonna do that for you.
And that's why they end up fixing nothing, because you come into politics not as an independent candidate. You come with a political party. If people who were independent candidates stand up and say, I rise on my own as an independent candidate, I will fix that, it's a different ball game. But this is an old woman who none of black leaders of the DA have went up, except that Musi Maimani at some stage was at the helm of the organization and even as the leader of the opposition in parliament. And they come and they say, he can feel. One is old. Joburg, look at these youngsters that are here. Understand? Look at Johannesburg city center is characterized by hustlers who are youngsters. For some are selling, some are making fat cakes, some are cooking, some are producing in the studio. It's buzzing with youth. And you want a Gogo Zille to come and make decisions for this youth. Why didn't Helen Zille and the DA and even the ANC groom and prepare youngsters who are living in this city, who knows the challenges, to come and take those political positions? Are we saying we don't have people in their, let's say, 40s? Let me not say 30s, 40s.
Those people are probably there and they've come up the ranks. But is that to say then, because we have 40-year-olds who've come up the ranks, you are disqualified?
I don't say disqualified. I wouldn't use the word disqualified. I'm simply saying it's a sign of old people not have prepared the youngsters to take over from them. It's a sign for me. I mean, the ANC is doing it in the Western Cape by bringing another oldie, another Gogo.
Who, Lynn Brown?
Lynn Brown. Well, I don't know if Lynn Brown is old, but yeah, I think she is over 50. I think she's going to 60.
But also, is she not state capture tainted?
Yes, and one of the most, but look, that's the state capture fiasco and circus. It never sent anybody to prison or for prosecution. All I'm saying is, Lynn Brown retired from politics because of the Zondo Commission, mainly because of that, or also because Ramaphosa had removed her from the cabinet. Now you want to take Lynn Brown and deploy her to the Western Cape in order to try and revive the ANC in the Western Cape, thinking that you'll use an experienced woman to go and sort out the ANC challenges in the Western Cape.
Okay, so she is called a Gupta-era minister.
Yes.
And she has not been found guilty of anything in any court of law.
Yep.
And the ANC needs someone from the Western Cape who is strong to hopefully rejuvenate that constituency.
Yes.
Why can't they send Lynn Brown?
I don't say they can't. I'm saying, is she the best they can do? Is she the best candidate? They tried with, you remember the ANC last governed the Western Cape under Ibrahim Rasool, who became a disgraced ambassador after. But what about all the other young people in the Western Cape?
They haven't been doing anything clearly.
Well, if they were given an opportunity, for me, the ANC literally died in the Western Cape. They never thought that. Look, I don't take anything away from experienced, learned, and informed people like Helen Zille and Lynn Brown. I'm not taking anything from them. I am simply saying, if we were talking about going into dialogues, the youth and the current, these people, they failed when they were a little bit younger, when they had the opportunity, because Helen Zille did not succeed, actually. The DA must never come and tell me that people like Helen Zille have succeeded, when actually the city of Cape Town is successful, but the Western Cape as a whole. And the city of Cape Town does not end in the city center, the CBD radius. It extends to the townships. When we speak of Johannes city of Joburg, we are not talking about city of Joburg, the center. We are talking about Sandton. We are talking about Soweto, Midrand, Alexander. That's part of city of Joburg. So city of Joburg is in decay, is collapsing because of it never had proper leadership, or they've dismally failed. And we should say the same with the city of Cape Town. We should not look at Cape Town is clean, it's safe, you can walk at 2 a.m. with your cell phone, nobody will grab it, because they've got policemen and security every corner of the street. They don't have that in Langa. They don't have that in Guguletu. Understand? They don't have that. You leave that city. They don't have that. Forget even leaving the city, the Cape Flats.
What do you say to people who argue that every time Cape Town is brought up, people say, yeah, but what about Googs? What about Kailicha? But those people have never compared Kailicha and Googs to when the ANC were there and when the DA are there, because that's how you can compare the apple with the apple, versus saying because suburbia in Cape Town is doing well and Googs might not be doing as well, therefore there's been nothing happening in Googs. But if you compared what happened to Googs in Googs, say in 98, 99 versus now, has there been development? Has there been growth? Because that is the only way to look at the data and make an informed decision. Everything else is more emotional than anything else.
I think that's the right way to do when you look at records, when you look at compare what was and what is before.
Absolutely.
And I haven't done that myself.
And then, for instance, you look at a KwaMashu.
Yes.
Looking at the different governments that have happened in KZN, how's KwaMashu faring now compared to in 98, 99? Because that's the only way then you can look at the data and make an informed decision about whether a Helen Zille works, whether a DA works. Everything else is, like I said, just emotional retorts.
On face value, and as an outsider on that province, and on face value, I don't think there's a difference. I don't think any of the government that has been in the Western Cape have done good for the black township or the majority black community. Even the people there, actually, the poor people of Gugule to Elanga and all that, they haven't done well for themselves because they also keep on voting these political parties or these people back into power. You understand? With the ANC, I may stand up and say they removed them when they couldn't deliver and they brought in the DA. But I don't think their lives has improved to a greater extent. And I'll also even use the Cape Flats as an example. But you are correct, Tato. Data that must be analyzed, the data that they should bring to the table and compare year in, year out, they compare seasons like in the last 10 or 15 years to after. And that's the only way we can do. But generally, I'm of the view that the government in South Africa, whether it's DA, whether it's ANC, because they've all been in government, has done too little for the well-being of the people.
Sure.
They have to generally, and for me, I'm basing it on the reports and the statistics that have been provided by government entities or agencies like the police. You understand? I'm basing it on that generally. I mean, it is not a secret that the Cape Flats, it's regarded as one of the most violent and unsafe places on earth, to be in the Cape Flats. I mean, that's a fact. It comes from the South African Police Services reports. It comes from Statistics South Africa. It's whether you're looking at the Joburg or Cape Town. But again, I'm advocating for political formations to bring young blood, fresh ideas, than recycling the same old people.
And I guess that's the conversation a lot of commentators had about the IFP literally for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
That is their succession plan.
Yes.
So what happens when the old man passes away?
Yes. And it nearly caught them up. But I think the IFP handled the passing away of Dr. Buthelezi very well. It showed that as much as we were making noise as analysts and the media out, I think internally
there was always
movement and planning.
Because often we can only comment on what we see.
Yes.
And there's movement in a lot of situations, but because we're not privy we make assumptions from outside.
Exactly. You understand? So those are some of the challenges we are faced with as a society. But Tato, now I'm tired of all this in government. I'm tired of the same people. Even if they are young, man. Even if they are young, you cannot have, let me tell you, Malusi Gigaba is regarded as young. But I don't see Malusi Gigaba, and I have nothing against Malusi Gigaba, the person. But I don't see the Malusi Gigabas, the Fikile Mbalulas, who are young people, doing anything better than their predecessors.
Sure.
Because but until it's really, I'm looking for the English word, they sucked from their leaders, the Zumas, the Motlanches, and the Mbekis. Even when they talk, when Fikile Mbalula talk, you will think he's an old man like Motlante. When Motlante talks, you will think it's the age of Oliver Tambo. So they become carbon copies. They don't depart from the past.
So they become their mentors versus be inspired by your mentor and be bigger and better.
That's why every time they talk, no politician from the ANC, I must think other parties, maybe we also do it. But I want to speak about the ANC because it's the biggest and the popular one. Have you ever seen them when they start saying, we learned from Oliver O.R., from Thabo Mbeki? Guys, yes, we learned. And then, from there, after learning, they never finish a speech. You must hear politicians. They never finish a speech without quoting the four leaders. Never. Not to say we shouldn't learn from them. You understand? But we are here. We are here.
And unfortunately, the majority of the electorate are young, and they don't care for nostalgia. In fact, half of them don't even know the nostalgia.
More than half, yeah.
The nostalgia you refer to.
Exactly.
And until you start using language they understand, and language that speaks to them, their needs, their fears, their dreams, their aspirations.
Exactly.
You've lost them.
You have lost them. And that's my fear, that we are losing this nucleus. We are losing this youth because we are not talking the language that they can relate to. Sure. And if we don't understand and address that dynamic, we won't achieve. Look at how youth punks around town wear the Biko t-shirt proudly. You understand? I see there's so many Biko and Che Guevara's t-shirts that are very nice. And when you speak to this youth about Che Guevara and Biko, they actually don't know what you're talking about.
There was
it's fashion.
I read an article in 2003 that said one of the reasons Che Guevara's image, I actually have a tattoo of Che Guevara on my chest.
Yes.
And there was a article talking about how Che Guevara's been turned into a fashion icon to dilute his legacy. So that now people, in fact, some people even think it's Fidel Castro when they see a picture of Che Guevara. Yes. But so apparently the argument was he's been intentionally turned into a t-shirt meme and a fashion icon to dilute what he stood for, and the fact that, yes, he might have been a rebel without a cause, but he always stood for something and stood his ground and rallied people. And how do you dilute such people? You turn them into something that's just on a t-shirt.
A fashion icon. Yeah, for me, that's my fear. Actually, you explain it better than me, but that's my fear, that we'll lose this youth.
Yes.
If we don't address those issues and talk to them with the language they will understand. I've partnered with one of my books last week, one of the youngsters, sadly from the ANC Youth League. I gave him one of my novels called Che Guevara Speaks to the Youth. Very nice, and I've been having it for years.
Yes.
And I gave it to them. I said, go read this. It's not me. Read who's Che and what Che is doing.
But it goes back to what I said, I think, last week, that because a lot of this stuff is not being taught in the schools, we have a responsibility to start doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
Even if it means on a Saturday for an hour. I know that if my kid goes to this community center, there's a talk about Pan-Africanism and how they can interpret it, relate to it, and apply it. But we're not doing that.
Well, my brother, me and you, at least we are trying. Every Saturday morning we are here, spending an hour or more of those who can access it. But
we need to do more.
We started somewhere.
Yeah. Listen, we are out of time. Are we out of time? Apparently we're out of time.
They are chasing us out.
Yeah, we're out of time, and I've got school pickup, and
No, that's fine. There's something we'll reserve for next week. I want to raise this. It needs a discussion.
yes,
What transpired in Parliament last week when MPs, especially from the opposition, were grilling foreign nationals who are in strategic government positions. I think they lost the plot, but we can talk about it next week.
Okay.
I saw them interviewing somebody and say, hey, where were you born, Zimbabwe? Are you not Zimbabwean? Why are you working for a South African institute? Is that the right thing? And I realized that these MPs, they don't know what they're talking about. They really don't know. We cannot make laws. And when laws are applied and people take advantage of those laws, you can't tell somebody, Tato, who's a naturalized citizen, who has been living here for over 20 years, who studied here,
the children are born.
naturalized, the children are born here. He's got dual citizenship because we allow it. And you want to tell me as an MP...
and hold it against them.
And hold it against them. I wish I had dual citizenship or I was a foreigner in this country. Those MPs, I would have addressed them. I would have told them, you don't even know your laws. Because that was very insulting to tell a citizen of this country that because you are born in Zimbabwe, why do you want to come and work in South Africa when I have made the law that says if you have lived here for more than 10 years, if you have studied here and I've granted you a permanent resident permit, it was not in permanent resident permit, you are a citizen, you are a naturalized citizen. You know what I could have asked those people? I could have said, Mazzotti, one of you, whose name Mazzotti, he's Italian. He's a leader of the DA, and he's sitting in this parliament. What are you saying about that person? Because it's very insulting. I just thought this MPs, but we'll talk about it next week since we are out of time.
I think you've just addressed it.
I don't know. People must go and watch that episode.
Yeah.
MPs don't know their laws, the laws that they make.
Sure.
That was very embarrassing for me.
And on that note, where do we find you on social media?
botsangm@gmail.com. And then at Botsang M on social media. And guess what? Suddenly yesterday my phone started working, the old number. I don't know why. I'm even afraid to ask MTN, have you brought back my number? So I'm using at 083-884-7787 on WhatsApp.
Welcome back.
It just started working after 2 years. I don't know what happened. I hope they're not spying on me.
I was going to say, maybe Big Brother is watching now.
Yeah, I'm worried about that.
It's like Laitang. Brother man, thank you very much.
Thanks, my brother.
See you again next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wow What a Week. #PoliTricks with Fresh and Botsang. We do it again next week. Coming to you from Ant Studios, downtown Johannesburg. We are part of the Africa Podcast Network. Email waw@africapodcastnetwork.com. Your opinions, your views are most welcome. Please, especially on our YouTube feed, comment, like, and share your opinions. If you disagree. If you agree, tell us why you agree. And if you disagree, tell us why you disagree. Swearing at Botsang will not change his opinion. All it will do is make you the person that swears, versus bring you data to convince him that, listen, I see it in this way. That is how we change minds. Swearing at him is not going to change his mind about what he feels is his lived experience or what he feels is a fact. Yeah, now make that a clip and share it with your friends. Shout out to Trevor and his crew at Pezulu Works for all of the cinematography, and shout out to YBF for all the behind-the-scenes videos. Keleso Modisakeng is our executive producer, and you are our favorite for tuning in. Till next week, have a wow week in spite of yourselves.